So today we'll be talking about a very important but underlooked topic in music and life sound in general. And oftentimes this is something that we all depend so much on for us to enjoy good music production, even as engineers, music consumers and producers too. So it's actually very key that we actually look at it. The topic of loudspeaker. And oftentimes, when we look at loudspeaker, we often look at it as the equipment that makes sound louder. That's how we often see it. But how does this happen? How does it make sound louder? What happened behind the scene that we don't even know? Possibly some of the things we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be looking at how does what happens inside the loudspeaker. How does it do all the things that it does, and some similar things like that. So firstly, I'll take you back to our audio signal chain and what happens at the beginning. In the beginning, there is sound that happens that is caused by vibration. So when you cause the body to vibrate, it causes some form of acoustic energy, and this energy is being captured by microphone. The microphone does want you to hear something through a speaker. That speaker needs some amount of amplification, some amount of power, and the signal itself, which usually is a mic level signal at the beginning, but later converted to a line level signal, will need to be converted to a speaker level for it to be able to drive the speaker driver properly. So the signal leaves the amplifier, then it hits the speaker. So what the speaker actually does in that aspect is that from the point where the sound is being captured, the input point where it's being captured is being converted to an electrical energy. And what we hear as human beings is actually acoustic energy. We don't hear audio, we only hear sound. So we don't hear audio, we only hear sound. So we need some chips to make sure that everybody hears similar quality of content. You get? So in that regard, we're talking about dispersion, we're talking about frequency content also. So everybody in the space should be able to hear similar frequency content of the material that you are trying to reproduce to them. You get? So after that, we'll leave that aspect and look at the classification of speakers. Speakers are actually classified in different way and in different way. So one of them is based on frequency response. So loudspeaker are classified based on frequency response. That's the kind of frequency that they can reproduce effectively. So if you're talking about that, we're talking about high frequency drivers. So when I say, for the sake of clarity, I'll be using the word drivers to mean individual units of a speaker. Then when I say loudspeaker, I mean a full enclosure that has multiple drivers in them. So drivers, when I mean driver, I'll be talking about things like tweeter, woofer, and anything that has to do with loudspeaker. It's loudspeaker really reproduced accurately in mid-frequency drivers. You get? From there, we have another set of drivers that are low-frequency drivers. Those are actually bigger woofers that reproduce low frequency. So they reproduce low frequency. Low frequency are like the frequency from your kick, the low part of the keyboard, your bass guitar. Those are what those speakers are designed to reproduce. Those drivers are designed to reproduce. Then from there, we'll have the sub-low drivers. Those are drivers that are designed to reproduce those that has the capacity to reproduce all of this frequency, what we often call full range speaker. So full range speaker, usually we have multiple drivers in them. When they all come together, they're able to reproduce the entire frequency band from, let's say, 60 hertz to 18 kilohertz. So that's like a full range loudspeaker. You get? Just so we know that in every full range loudspeaker, there's usually a crossover in it. So what the crossover does is that it just helps to separate each frequency to each driver. So you have your crossover inside built in it that helps to take the high frequency, it takes it to the high frequency driver, which is the tweeter, it takes the mid frequency, it takes it to the mid frequency driver, which is like the mid frequency woofer. Then the other part of it takes it to the low, and that's how speaker is. So for studio monitor system that can reproduce a full range of a large range of frequency, usually you will see that they have tweeter in it and the woofer in it. And I just want to mention, I think I have not mentioned it in the beginning, that speakers and microphones actually are designed a similar way. They're designed a similar way, just like just that your speaker is bigger in size because of the kind of sound that it's designed to reproduce, and the speaker itself is a reverse of whatever the microphone does. So inside the microphone, you will see a diaphragm, a moving coil, and a magnet. When the sound hits the diaphragm, it causes the coil to move back and forth, and that is being converted to an electrical energy. For the speaker, what happened is that the amplifier, which is meant to drive the speaker, produces some form of high electrical voltage that hits the coil inside, and it causes the diaphragm to move back and forth. When that happens, it causes the air to vibrate, and it converts the audio to sound. Hope that's clear. So a microphone and a speaker actually are designed in a similar way, and that's why sometimes if you take a microphone, you can use it as a speaker of audio outputs. Any audio output socket, you'll be able to hear something through a microphone. And same thing for a speaker. If you take a speaker and you put it, let's say most of the time this is done for kick drum. People use studio monitors, convert it and use it for microphones, so just to capture the low frequency of the kick drum. So they take a woofer, they convert the woofer, so they connect the microphone cable to it, sort of. Then they put it on the kick, they connect it to a mixer, be able to capture the low frequency. So this is to establish that your microphone, your speaker are designed in similar way. Also, looking at another classes of speaker, we'll look at it based on amplification method. So we have speakers that have the amplifier built in them. Those ones are what we refer to artist speakers or power speakers. For those speakers, when you buy them, you might not need, or you will not need to buy an external amplifier, because when it is the manufacturer were designing the speaker, they have put in, they have done all the calculation, they have matched all the impedance, sensitivity, they have matched everything, so they just put the amplifier. So all you need to do is make sure that when you're using that kind of speaker, you follow the proper guideline for connecting them. So you connect them, you take your audio inputs, connect it to the input of the speaker, you'll be able to have sound out of it almost immediately without having to connect it to an amplifier. And this speaker we actually designed to be very more effective, because the manufacturer have considered every other thing that you will need inside an artist speaker. Then we'll go to the other classes of speaker that we often use, and in this part of the world, people do go for this kind of speaker because they don't know how to manage power effectively. They don't know, they don't follow power guidelines, so it's best for them to just buy a speaker that does not have amplifier built in, and they get an amplifier that they will connect to it. In the day that the amplifier will get bad, they can easily get another amplifier to drive the speaker. You get, that's the passive speaker. So for the passive speaker, you get a speaker cabinet, or let's say a multi-driver speaker cabinet. Then you also get an amplifier that you connect to the speaker to drive the speaker. But most often time when people buy a passive speaker, they always forget the fact that they will need the amplifier that can drive it properly. So they just get any amplifier and just use an speaker, look at the back plate, check what is the impedance, check what's the power requirement of the speaker, then get an amplifier that can drive it very well. Or if you're not very sure of how to go about that, I think you can call any of our experts to help you out with making those decisions. And most of the time, we will just advise that you go for an artist speaker, because it saves you a lot of headache on what amplifier to use. And if you are looking at value for money, I think the artist system gives better value for money for a lot of loudspeaker system that you want, because the cost we used to buy an amplifier, but the cost that we used to buy a passive speaker. By the time you put it together, you realize that you spend so much in buying these two systems together. Also, I'm just going to look at I want us to look at some factor that we need to consider while we are choosing a loudspeaker system for our space, and one of them would be the venue size and acoustic. So before you go to meet any of our brothers in Alaba to buy speaker, I think one of the things that you need to consider is, what is your space? How is your space like? Is your space big? Is it small? Also consider the acoustic of the space. Does the space have a lot of reflection? If it has a lot of reflection, it means that you need to get a speaker that will be able to mitigate any other issues that you have with that space. You get. So another thing that you need to look at again is the audience size and coverage. How big is the audience you are getting the speaker for? You get. And that will also influence what speaker you get. Are you getting a single speaker that can fill the entire space, or you're going to get multiple speakers that you're going to put in different parts of the audience to get, so that you get better coverage for them? And another thing again is, when choosing a speaker, you need to consider the type of event that you want to use speaker for. If it's a speech event, you may not require a speaker that can reproduce a lot of low frequency. It's just speech. What people want to hear is just someone speaking, and the dynamic range for speech is actually very, very, very low. So that means that you don't need to buy a speaker that is very loud, that has a lot of headroom to get. Unlike when you are buying a system for a live performance, for that kind of system, you need to get a subwoofer. For that kind of system, to get for that kind of space, you need a subwoofer. Or for that kind of event, you need a subwoofer. Really. And also, you need to look at portability. So if you are a mobile church, a church that's set down and set up, you also need to consider speakers that are very portable and also very effective. I mean, by being effective, I mean it can serve your audience properly. So you need to be looking at very compact speakers, because you won't be able to afford moving large equipment up and down. So you look at smaller speaker that can do a lot of SPL for your space. And also you need to consider setup time. So if there's some speaker that you buy, you spend a lot of time setting it up because it has a lot of parts that you need to hook up together. Imagine you have a passive speaker and you have a lot of line array speaker. It means that for every time that you need to set it up, you need to bring in all the line array one after the other, stack them, which has increased the amount of time that you spend. Then because they are active speakers, you will need to get cable from the amplifier. You plug to one, plug to the other one, plug to the other one. You're spending a lot of time setting up the speaker. And lastly, another thing that you need to look at again is budget. You need to consider the budget of very good and also very affordable too. And in the list of that are speaker like FBT, the Avanti. They are very fantastic speaker. They can deliver at that level that you want to deliver, as regarding SPL, frequency content that you want to reproduce to your audience, and whatever that you are considering before designing your system to get. And if you're not sure of how to go about this, I think we are your guys. ShowGear is your guy. You can always reach out to us anytime, any day. Tell us that you have a space you want to design a system for. Maybe you're not sure of the kind of speaker to choose for that space. We are always there to recommend speaker for you to use. Actually, some of these recommendation comes at no cost. They don't come at no cost. They come at no cost, actually. Sorry. They come at no cost, so you don't have to pay for them. The only thing that matters is that you are getting value for whatever you're investing. So if you have any other question about speaker, type of speaker, classification, you can send it to us, or you can comment on this particular post when it's being uploaded. You get, or you can send us a DM so you can ask some more questions about speaker choice, speaker coverage, speaker type, what kind of speaker can I use on my space and stuff. We're always available to respond to you. So if you have questions about all I've just said now, you can put it up on TikTok. Maybe the next time that we'll dive in more and get more technical about this topic of loudspeaker. But today I choose to make it as simple and relatable as much as I can. Thank you. So I'll be waiting for you to ask your question.